There was a moment where the dynamic shifted, like where I couldn't curse in front of my mom, and then after Clerks, I could, but not after I made the movie. She saw the movie, and my mother's reaction to my first film was, "Oh my God, you spent $27,000 on that piece of garbage?" Which is like, you know, I would get those reviews later in my life from the New York Times and stuff, but like at that point in my life, that was my mom, like. But she couldn't understand it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not like she was stupid or something, but nobody had ever done anything like that in our world. Nowadays, you know, kids make films on their iPhones, like literal kids and shit like that. And everyone understands that film is more democratized. Anybody can pick up a camera and tell a story and shit. But when I did it in our particular little section of the world, even though we were 1 hour away from New York, where everything fucking happens, living in New Jersey, the notion to my parents of like, you're gonna make a movie and somehow people are gonna see it. Like, I might as well have told them like, I'm gonna be a fucking astronaut. Like after all this time, I just decided. So they didn't really get their heads around it until the movie got picked up. Until like, you know, Miramax picked up the movie. Then my mother understood. Like when we had a premiere here in Los Angeles, here in New York, when the movie came, right before it came out, but it was down in Tribeca, and it was at the Pig and Whistle. That was where we had our after party and stuff. So my mom, you know, I was like, you got to come up. My mom came, and the ET was there, Entertainment Tonight, which was a huge deal before the internet. Like, if you loved entertainment, that's where you got your news and shit like that. And I grew up watching it. So they were interviewing me, and they were like, your mom's here? Can she be in the interview? And I was like, oh, my God, totally. So I pulled my mom into the interview as well, and, like, you just saw her demeanor change completely. Like, this is where I belong, you know, like she, like speaking my mind and shit. So after that, you know, when people were talking about, like, they were like, what do you think of the language? Because we got an NC-17 for the language at the time. And my mom was like, well, you know, it's not the way I speak, but it's how him and his friends talk. And I understand that, I guess somebody likes that or whatever. So she slowly came to grips with it. So after that, I just started peppering my conversation. It wasn't even peppering. I didn't clean up my act for my mother. So I just started talking to her more like I talk to my friends. I'll be honest with you, it was a better relationship. It was the moment when you know, she stopped being just my mother, and she became a contemporary. Yes, right? Like suddenly we were both adults and shit. And she still don't curse. It never rubbed off on her and stuff. Maybe in traffic, if somebody cuts her off, she'll get vulgar. But generally speaking, no. She's happy to let me do all the cursing for the family.
I love the idea of her stepping on camera for the first time and immediately, like, perfect media-trained response. Well, it's not my preferred way, but it's still...
She was good, bro.
Ready to go.
She was, and it's funny because she don't come from that world. Like, she's not a public speaker. Even in church, like when we were kids, she wasn't like the person that went up and did a reading or something like that. But suddenly she was just like, oh, people are interested in the little fat son of mine? Like, and we were off and running. She's great. She remains my biggest fan to this day.